Hey there folks, and welcome to this video. This one here, I'm talking about F1's We Races 1 display ahead of the Qatar Grand Prix, F1's first visit to Qatar, and the start of the final 3 rounds in the Middle East that we have for the 2021 F1 season. For those of you unaware of the We Races 1 display, it's something that started off arranged by the drivers as an end racism display ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix that opened last season. This was brought forward after the murder of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin, which saw a resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the drivers started off on their own before the national anthem doing a gesture they felt fit, which was for 14 of them kneeling. And F1 saw this, and after some mixed messaging where it seemed like they were trying to cover it up for a couple of races, they included it from the British Grand Prix as part of an end racism message. They played a 1-minute pre-recorded message with 20 or so seconds of drivers doing the gesture they feel fits. That then moved over to today, which is now about 50-50 standing and kneeling, and it became a wider We Races 1 gesture, which included things like diversity and inclusion and sustainability, and end racism became one of the tenets of it. But, as always, F1 finds itself in all kinds of controversy, especially over these kinds of things, because, well, we're in Qatar, a place that's going to hold the World Cup next season, and the working conditions and the human rights conditions in those kinds of stadium building facilities and, of course, elsewhere in Qatar have been inhumane, to say the very least. And then you've got Saudi Arabia, which has done the similar kind of turnaround for its street circuit in Jeddah, and then we've got the UAE, United Arab Emirates, for Abu Dhabi. And another thing that comes up quite important when it comes to talking about these countries in the Middle East, a lot of human rights, and moreover the kind of lack of them. I mean, we went to Turkey, which is the kind of gateway into Asia from Europe. It has, especially the city of Istanbul, goes across both of them. Issues such as same-sex rights, which we've also seen in Hungary this year, seen as like a kind of staple of the F1 calendar, but also, yeah, Turkey, down the final 3 races of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. Yeah, gay rights aren't really a thing. And that's putting it lightly. So, Lewis Hamilton wearing a crash helmet for this race here, and supposedly the final 3 altogether, which has the Progress Pride flag. For those of you who don't know, it's a Pride flag at the front, and then at the back of it, he's got signs for minority ethnic groups who are underrepresented, especially in things like queer spaces, and also trans pride and intersex as well. And it says "We stand together" instead of the "Still I rise" that's usually at the back of it. And talk about "Still I rise." I don't know if anybody noticed, but at the start of this triple header, after the Mexican Grand Prix and before the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, they were talking about their best moments from the Mexico City Grand Prix. And F1's social media team used the phrase "Still Max rises." And I think the best way to describe it is probably lazy PR. Because they were like, oh, it's the thing that Lewis says. Not recognising it comes from Maya Angelou's poem of the same name. So yeah, that got swiftly deleted. But, I mean, it's something that happens in these kinds of situations. I mean, I've seen it too many times where it seems like, I think the best way to describe it is 90s marketing, where they're like, oh, we could use this term because it seems cool or hip or something like that, when they don't recognise the actual symbolism of it. Obviously, in a lot of those cases, like with this one, it ends up going on to be something that's inappropriate or potentially even downright offensive. But, yeah, I mean, looking at his behaviour on the track and off the track this season, especially the stuff that he's been doing behind the scenes these past few years. There's Hamilton going for that 8th world title. He's great at the sport. I mean, he's won 7 titles already, but stuff that he's done for diversity, for inclusion, for all kinds of things in and around motorsport, outside of motorsport, in terms of things like STEM, in terms of things like education. He's great. There's no other way of putting it. And the fact that people hate him just because he says racism is bad, or because he wants to do his bit that he can using the platform that he has to challenge racism, racial inequality. I don't understand how you can hate him for that. I really, really don't. Thank you for watching.